Gentlemen, what's going on? We're back. We had a 1 week hiatus, but we are officially back for the War Room. We've got four of Blitzalytics' finest scouts here. Mr. Tyler Mooney, Mr. Ryan Lippert, who is the director of scouting, and Mr. Patrick Pryor, who has grown up in front of our eyes to be one of the best scouts we got. Today, trained in-house. Gotta love it. Gentlemen, we got a few days to the draft. I'm dying. I'm recovering. It's been a long week. A lot of travel time, but I'm here. How you guys doing?
Good. Almost there. Few more days till draft time.
Draft week.
Oh, nothing better, man. It feels like a kid at Christmas right now. I am so excited, so giddy. Not used to my team being drafted at the very end of the draft, but it's
That's
a blessing.
good news.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely a blessing. A lot of stuff going on. We're gonna be doing our defensive rankings, just kind of walking through the top fives. Nothing crazy. We're not deep diving. We'll come at you guys with another show tomorrow. Probably a preview show. Might even do a live. It's going to be kind of like a fight companion. It's not going to be a produced show, but we might do a live stream and have you guys be more than welcome. We might even open it up to fans. Come in and just hang out, watch the draft with us. If we can drop any news beforehand, we will definitely do that with the NFL draft. They're going to try not to leak information. So for any of you guys that are like us that want to know exactly what's happening and not have to wait with the rest of the world, you can tune into Blitzalytics YouTube channel and follow us. But before we get into it, guys, is there any topics you guys want to cover? We've talked about the Mac Jones, Trey Lance thing a million times already. We've talked about everything. Pat, I know you just mentioned that you're getting annoyed with your fellow Patriots fans, thinking that you're going to go get up there and get everybody. Real quick, just what's your take on the Patriots move? What are they going to do, or what do you think they should do?
I think if Fields is available, and I've made it pretty well known that I think he's going to go to San Francisco, I think it's all smoke. But if he is available, I would not be surprised if Belichick makes a move up for him. Obviously, this is a little unfamiliar territory for me, having the Patriots need a quarterback. But if they could go ahead and grab Fields, I would be pretty giddy. I know Atlanta's asking price is going to be very high if he's there, but I think if he's available, Bill's going to want to pull the trigger. He wants to go prove himself that he can win without Brady. And if Fields has got to do it, I've got no doubt in Bill's ability.
Yeah, there's a few spots where any of these quarterbacks can go. Like, I think if Mac Jones or Justin Fields goes to either Niners or the Patriots, they're going to both be successful. There's a lot of places, like, I have no faith in any of the quarterbacks if they go to the Jets. Like, I really don't. Like, I do think that you have to imagine, like, these teams suck. These teams have never produced a solid quarterback. Like, never. We can say Joe Namath, but, like, really, like, if you look, how prolific really was he? Like, he was good, but, we're talking about way before our time, So, who's this? Like, I would really do. I was talking to Cody and Ashton about this on Twitter earlier. Like, I'd bet the house that says Zach Wilson's going to be a bust, not because of Zach Wilson, but because of the Jets. What's going to change about the Jets? Robert Saleh? Like, I like him. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. But what does a defensive coordinator of a head coach have to do with the success of a quarterback? It's got nothing to do with it. Like, who says that Saleh going to yell at him and motivate him? Like, not without an offensive line or weapons or a solid team or. But again, I guess this is the Gase thing. This, the Gase effect. We'll see how he's going to be, or how this team will be without him. But I don't know. I think these players has as much, if not more, to do with the fit and where they go as their own personal talent. All right. Well, enough of that. We will jump on into our very first CISA, our very first rankings. We will start off with Edge. As of right now, again, these are pre-dated. They will be changed right before the NFL draft. This is just what we are sitting on right now as our initial big board rankings. I think either by tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest, we will have our 100% rankings up and ready to go. But I do have, not only that, but I have some of my own personal rankings to go over with this. But, gentlemen, we've got Kwity Paye, we have Gregory Rousseau, Aziz Ojulari, and then Jalen Phillips to top four. Carlos Basham Jr. to hit the top five. O'Shea is the sixth right now. He has not been finished, but I believe he is in the process, and he's somebody that I'm pretty high on, not just because I am a Texas fan. We will start off with Tyler. What is your take on this? We'll go counterclockwise.
Yeah, so I like to start off with, as being a Giants fan, we're in a desperate need for an edge rusher. However, I just don't see. I'll start off with saying I don't see any of these guys. Like, there is no Chase Young, there is no Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney type in this draft. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with me. But looking at the top, I like what Kwity Paye has to offer as far as from an athletic standpoint. He's capable of, lining up at nose. I saw him line up at nose in Michigan. He moved all around. He can get lateral quickly. And that's type of what the defensive end that you're looking for in the NFL. And kind of the same thing with Jalen Phillips, kind of with his size. He's really good at getting skinny in the hole, especially like in the B gap. And Xavier Collins is kind of like one of those guys that you look for, because, we're changing into a positionless type football. And, Xavier Collins, you can move him around. Same thing with Ojulari, which I'll probably butcher that name 100 times while saying that. But same thing. The Giants kind of have a similar guy in like Lorenzo Carter, a guy from Georgia who, you can move all around. So I think it's just, with these guys, it's kind of going to be all a system fit. I think, getting in the right system. I don't think that there is – a consensus number one guy like a Chase Young that is going to come in, be a captain right away as a rookie and, make an immediate impact. I think it's going to have to do with the system.
I agree. Ryan, I mean, who's your favorite out of this list? Because I think everybody's got Paye up there, but is he the highest upside prospect?
For me, but besides that, a lot of these guys are like rotational pieces that are going to grow in their scheme. They're drafted in. I like Paye number one, just because of his athleticism, his versatility, as Tyler kind of pointed out. I like him just as an overall package at edge in this class. And then after him, I like Rousseau, even though he's kind of dropped down the board according to some people. I like his physicality that he can bring off the edge. He's disruptive in the backfield. He kind of slipped on his film a little bit senior year, but I still think he's a guy that you can bring in. If not start right away, he can kind of rotate in and be a key piece of a defense. And then a guy that's kind of not mentioned in the top five that I like Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma. I love his motor. He's got very violent hands. I mean, I was watching film on him today, and most of us love Tevin Jenkins, and he bullied Jenkins on a couple plays. So I liked what I saw on film from him. So I think he could be a guy, bring him in mid to late second round, and he could compete for a starting job right away. Yeah. So overall, not a strong edge class, but there's a little bit to work with there.
Yeah, like you said, I think there's no A-plus prospects in this interior edge. Nobody's an A-plus home run pick. Every one of these guys is going to start off rotational. But that's why I like Rousseau, for the fact that there's so much upside to it. Yeah, he might have dropped down the board a little bit this year. I think he was, I think what his year last year they had him kind of as clear-cut number one, and then he fell off a little bit. But he's got all the intangibles. He's got the traits. He's got the physicality. He's got the motor. He's high energy. There is times like they do knock him. They say he takes plays off. But you see it, like it's a lot of times people will knock it for being a second and third effort play, saying that like, well, it's not like he blew the guy up, he didn't just destroy to this tackle to get to it, the quarterback held onto the ball too long, or this and that. And you can kind of create an excuse as to why they they shouldn't be as good, or those sack records or the sack numbers aren't as good as they actually look on paper. But at the end of the day, a lot of those, half of the sacks in the NFL are second and third effort, especially with the athletic quarterbacks that are escaping. You need guys that are going to be willing to put out second and third effort and not just stop after they get shut down. So I do like that. I think Ojulari for me is sneaking into being one of my favorite prospects. The more I watch him, the explosiveness, his hands were like not to that extent, but they do kind of remind me of some Khalil Mack. Like, he's got a lot of power in those hands and what he's able to do. He's not this monster, D-tackle or edge rusher, or not D-tackle, but D-end or edge rusher, but he does have some power for being for being his size. He's small, he's compact, not small, but he's compact and built. And when he hits, I mean, he brings power, and I love to see that. So I think he's somebody who can easily be the number one guy here. Phillips has got all the injury concerns with the back. You have to wonder how far he's going to slide. As somebody like for a Bucks fan, you kind of hope that there's talks about him, there's talks about Caleb Farley, and like, God, I wish one of those guys would slide down that far. And Phillips may or may not, and the Bucks may or may not take a swing on him, but the upside is there. And I think at 32, if you're the Bucks and you're not able to move back, then why not take a swing on a high upside prospect who may or may not have had some injury concerns? But there is a lot of guys that we can talk about right now. This is just, again, a solid class, but nothing too crazy. I think I have Pay, Ojulari, Russo, Phillips, and an O'Shea, and then I think that's my top 5. Pat, what are your take on these guys, on this class?
Yeah, I've got mostly the same rankings, except I have O'Shea over Basham at 5. Even though it's nice to see a Wake Forest guy finally starring in the draft, but there's a lot of unrefined guys. Like half this class is a lot of upside with physicality, such as Russo and Pay, and I think that adds a little bit of potential for them not to pan out. But the thing is, if they pan out, they will be very good, and it's more of just a waiting game. Like you guys said, you're not going to get a Chase Young. You're not going to get the Defensive Player of the Year, I think, in any of these edge guys. But you can certainly get really good players in them. And I think some teams are going to come out with these guys. And as long as they give them a chance to develop and don't rush them into it and don't screw it up, then they'll be good. Because if you give, like, Rousseau a good pass rush move and teach him how to do it, he will be good. There is no if there. But you have to give him those pass rush moves and you have to let him develop.
Yeah. I think most of these guys have to have patience with everybody in the front. D tackle, edge, it doesn't matter. These guys are going to take some time to hit that peak. It may be 2, 3, 4 years, and you may not have them on your contract. You may not have them on your roster by the time they do peak, because then they're going to be worth a lot of money. So, always tends to work out like that with guys. So let's head on into the IDL, interior defensive linemen. 1, 2, 3, 4 tech. Christian Barrymore has been basically sitting at the top for everybody. I definitely have a call-out. I'm not sure who did Davion Nixon. I want to say it was Joseph, but oh hell no, does my boy Davion Nixon deserve to be a 6.89. So we're going to have some stuff to work out there. And then it comes in, we have... we're missing Levi Ojulari. I'm not sure why, but I know it should be number 2, Nixon 3, Tafule 4, and then technically we're sitting on... Why is it like that? We're missing quite a few guys on there. Let me see. Let me look at our other rankings and see why that is. My apologies, gentlemen. If anybody wants to help me, let me know. I don't understand who we're missing or why we're missing so many. All right, so on this one, we have Basham as a 5 tech, so that's why he wasn't on that other list. We need to get that fixed if he's going to be considered. We're considering him an edge. But as of right now, you have Barmore, Ozunrike, Nixon, Jay Tafule, and then Marvin Wilson coming in as the top 5 guys. Do we have anybody that you see that is not on that list that should be? Lippert, what is your take on this? We have quite a few guys. I guess we're messing this up. We apologize, guys. On the spot figuring this out. But what's your take on the interior D-line rankings?
With me, those top guys were about the same for me. I had Barrymore number 1. I like his versatility. I like he's physical. He's athletic. I just like him at the top of this list. And then Amu's a rookie. I like him a lot out of Washington. He's bigger body, but he can move for his size. What I liked out of him, he can rush the passer and he can stop up in the gap and shut down the run as well. And then I had Tufeli, I had him number 3, and then Nixon at 4 for me.
Tyler, what are your takes on these top guys? Do you think that Barrymore is as good as everyone says? I mean, there is a lot of rawness to this prospect, but I mean, he doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of a competition at that number 1 spot.
Yeah, I think he's a number 1 guy, but like you said, he's raw. He's going to need time to develop. But as you've seen, with other Alabama defensive tackles, they don't always make an immediate impact right away. But a year or 2 down the road, they turn into solid players. But another guy that's not on the list, I love Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech. He's a little smaller, but he's really, really smooth with his movement. He plays with outstanding pad level, and he's really good at the point of attack. He's pretty strong, gives a great punch. So keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, I actually do. I usually hate USC prospects entirely just because I'm a anti-Southern California fan. Even though I spent my entire week down there, it was beautiful, it was gorgeous, weather was amazing. Got my In-N-Out burger, got my Mexican food, but both the USC defensive tackles I think are going to be mid to late round steals. Big body guys, those big physical, powerful as all hell Polynesians type that they can just move bodies, move mountains, and so I think those guys are going to be that mid round prospects that could be targeted. I know the Bucs would love to put basically a similar type, a Vita Vea clone right next to Vita and have somebody try to deal with that. That would be very, very interesting. Again, I'm always talking from Bucs standpoint. But for me, Levi is got to be the highest upside prospect because of, I know Barmore is outstanding and he's got, the physical strength, the quickness, the power, all that stuff. But the technique and the length for me is a big deal. The way that I say Ozunrique. How do you say it, Libert?
That's how I'm saying it.
Okay, Ozunrique. That's how I hear a million different ways, and I don't know how to say it. Ozunrique. I love his game, man. I really do think that his ability to long arm bull rush to the one arm. I mean, he's got an arsenal already set up. So again, if you can teach Christian Barmore that arsenal, that's awesome. But if you can come in day one as a defensive tackle, as an interior D lineman, and have a set of pass rushing moves and a set of the ability to disengage defenders, that's a huge thing. I think Barmore, once he gets stood up, he's kind of done. With Ozunrique, you've seen that he never stopped fighting. Those hands were active, and it was so hard for them to even get his hands on him because of how often he's using that reach to dictate that distance. Pat, what is your take? Do you have a sneaky prospect out of this D tackle list?
I wouldn't say sneaky, but I think Marvin Wilson's 4 is underrated as a run defender. He does such an excellent job of just eating up multiple gaps at a time, eating double teams, and he doesn't blow anyone away with his speed. He doesn't get into the backfield and sack the pass rusher, which is why he's going to be the 4th or 5th ranked guy on most boards. But the amount of space he takes up and how well he does it, I think, provides him a great floor. And I think it makes him a little bit underrated, in my opinion, as a prospect. And obviously, J. Tufeli is my number 3, and I love his physicality. I think if I was an offensive lineman, I'd be quite terrified to go up against him.
He's so big. He's so big, and he's big and quick. Like, he does remind me a lot of Vita Vea. Like, you shouldn't be able to have that kind of get off and have, tree trunks for thighs. But now I think, would we all agree the linebacking class is the most talented group? I feel like it's the most stacked group on the defensive side of the ball. Do we all agree on that? I know there's quite a few cornerbacks. Yeah. There's a lot of cornerbacks on this list too. But I feel like in terms of all pro potential, Pro Bowl potential, I feel like that the linebacking group is far superior than any of the other positional groups on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
All right. Well, Tyler, which one is your favorite?
Micah Parsons out of Penn State. He's definitely my favorite. I know that's the easy answer, but I mean, if you put the tape up, I mean, he flies around the ball. Obviously, there's a few footwork things he needs to work on, but I think that, you look at your guy, Devin White, a guy that you can plug and play in there for the next 10 seasons and change your defense and its culture. I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. We've got Parsons, Jock, J-O-K, we don't say the whole thing, Zaven Collins, Nick Bolton, Dylan Moses, Jabril Cox, Kevin McGroin, a 7.87. I think we might have to call that one out. It's a little high. I like there's a high upside there, but I don't know about that. I think that's pushing it. And then Chaz Surratt, who I think is going to be somebody who can step in and be kind of one of those mid-round guys who ends up finding a role, at least a sub-package role early on. Baron Browning, and then Monty Rice. I think that rounds out our top 10. I know we keep talking about top 5s, but in terms of rankings and overall grades, that's where they rank out. But other than the McGroin, Ryan, I think this is actually our best ranking yet. Like, I think that we're all kind of in agreement with this. The grades actually match up with the list. That kind of rarely happens because we do value positional groups more so, or certain positions over others, and certain styles of play over others. And depending on how you look at Zaven Collins, he can kind of be playing. I know they're talking about him playing on the outside, him playing the inside, him being able to rush the passer. But would you agree with this more so than most of our rankings in terms of the team getting it right?
Yes, I would. One guy I will say I'm kind of disappointed isn't higher, though, after watching this film is my guy out of Kentucky, man, Jamin Davis. He was a guy, obviously I'm a UK fan. I watched him during the season, and he was always good. He was always making plays, and I guess I just didn't watch it close enough. And then I saw I think it was Matt Miller, was one of the first ones. I saw him put him first round. I was like, whoa. Then I went back and watched the film, and I see it. I mean, he's got all the athleticism. He can cover tight ends and man coverage. He can step up and defend against the run. I think he's going to be a guy, that's brought in late first, early second round, and he's going to contribute right away, I think. I think he's part of the new type of breed of linebacker in the league, kind of a guy that can be moved all around the defense. So I like him a lot.
I don't even think we have him on our board right now, don't we? Might have to get one of those in before Friday or Saturday comes around, or before Thursday Friday comes around. See what we can do on that one. Pat, what is your take on the rankings and the linebackers? Do you kind of have are you in agreement with the rest of us? Is this kind of I would say an easier ranking to go through?
Yeah, it is. I think there's not much disagreement anywhere that Parsons and JOK are 1 and 2. Obviously, some people's gonna have them different, and I think Jamin Davis is going to be up there in these next couple of days as a top 5 prospect. I'm a little lower on Dylan Moses than some people, but I think he definitely deserves to be in the top 10. I don't have him in my top 5. I think I had Jamin Davis in the last one, and then it was Nick Bolton at 5.
You guys in agreement with that? That's something that's been brought up, particularly about the Mac Jones argument, but that when you get a Alabama prospect, you're seeing the best of them in college. That, they're basically that coaching staff, Alabama itself is going to bring the best out of that prospect, and you're not going to get much better than that. That they basically peak at Bama, and then they never live up to the hype when they get to the NFL. You can say that. I mean, you can definitely handpick a lot of these prospects. And then you can also handpick a lot of prospects that are, future Hall of Famers coming from Bama.
Yeah, I mean, with Moses, with me, I did his scouting report, and I've seen in years past what he can do, but he scares me mainly because of his injuries. I mean, he came back this year, said he played on a torn meniscus most of the season. But it's was a shell of his old self. I thought he was a step or two slower than usual. He just struggled in a lot of areas for me this year. I mean, that's why he's fallen down some boards instead of him being a first-round pick. He's probably going to be, third-round guy maybe. But, I mean, it's like you said, Jack, they peak at Alabama a lot on defense just because it's Alabama. It's that system. We've seen what they do. They just dominate and then they rebuild. So it's you get these 4 or 5-star guys that come in, they just rotate them, it seems like.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you also know, like, I have insiders that are at Bama practices, almost every day, and they practice the way they play. Like, they literally are, they're not worried about these guys' NFL futures. Like, they're trying to harden those bodies, and they're willing to, risk injury because of the fact that they have such a stacked roster. Like, they want these guys in game shape year round, which you obviously do, but they hit during practice. They don't, they're not taking days off. Like, that's that kind of fighter mentality of, at what point are you, is there a diminishing return? Can you harden yourself up to the point where then you're weak come game day? And so I think I don't think that's the case, but I do think that Alabama players have a lot more wear and tear and a lot less tread on the tires once they get in the NFL because they've been playing such hard-nosed, smash-mouth football for 3 or 4 years, not just in the games, but every single day in practice. I think playing for Bama wears on players. All right, let's move on in to the cornerback rankings. This one I love. There is so many guys to talk about in this group. Patrick Surtain is the guy I did. It's one of the highest graded players I've actually ever graded out. I think right there with like Quentin Wilson is like what I had, or Quentin Nelson, I mean. In terms of like I rarely give eights. Eights are a hard one to give out, but Patrick Surtain is the full package. He is a prick in press man. He's going to beat you up at the line of scrimmage. He can go step for step with him in man coverage. I think he's perfect for the cover 3, man cover 3, that Seattle scheme. But he can play anything. I mean, you've seen him, move inside and play up against, you've seen him play up against tight ends. You've seen him line up against slot guys. We've seen Farley and Horn do that same thing in terms of following guys and moving around. But Patrick Surtain to me is the complete package. He hits. He's somebody that you can rely on against the run. He's not afraid to go make a tackle. Not only is he not afraid to go make a tackle, he actually aims to hurt every time he does. He brings the lead, and I love that in a cornerback. To me, he's the closest thing to Jalen Ramsey that we've had come out of the draft yet. Caleb Farley is amazing. Like, there's no doubt about it. That guy is an athletic freak. You shouldn't be able to do what he does. I mean, he's so long and lengthy, and to be that and athletic and have ball skills and have coverage skills, like, he is, someone who probably does have the highest ceiling, but his floor with the injury risks has to be concerning for a lot of teams. You got Surtain, Farley, Horn, Asante Samuel Jr., Melanfonwu to round out the top 5. But Melanfonwu just graded out the highest. We didn't rank him necessarily as the top 5. Again, give it a day or two when we have our official rankings. We'll go through them one last time for you guys in terms of our overall big board before we get going on the draft pre-show. I will go the opposite way. Pat, what is your take on the cornerback class this year? Is there anybody you would shift into that 5th spot over Melanfonwu?
No, actually, Melanfonwu was exactly at my 5. I love his zone coverage and his ability to just come down on the ball. He has impeccable timing sense, and he's just so dangerous to break up passes. And if he can get on, he'll be able to get on some of them, and he will intercept them. He's extremely dangerous to throw to. He's going to bait quarterbacks by getting off and using his great sense of timing that he's already got built in to just collapse on the ball. And, he is my 5 just because Surtain and Farley and all those guys are great, but I think he's going to be an excellent zone cover cornerback, and he has shown flashes in man. Syracuse played mostly zone, but when they did play man, he showed that he could still stick with them.
I've got Surtain, Farley, Horn, Samuel Jr., and then Eric Stokes from Georgia, actually. But a lot of those guys are really close. Melanfonwu I have a little bit farther down. I guess it might have to do with a little bit of the brother bias thing. We all have those bias, and you see the brother peak at where Obi did, and so I'm kind of worried, I guess, about that. But what you do see on film is that same athletic prowess of like that guy is big, long, not afraid to come down in the box, the athleticism and the upside is outstanding. Ryan, what is your take on the top 5 corners, and do you have anybody you would slide up the board?
I mean, like you said, I like Sertan a lot. I mean, I think he's got to be the clear-cut one in this class. Then for me, I like Horn at 2. This is a lockdown corner that you can move with the wide receiver 1 on any team, I feel like. I mean, look at what he did in the SEC. He was up against the top guy and had success against every top guy he faced. I mean, the film doesn't lie and stats don't lie there. And then I've got Harley at 3, and I've also got Greg Newsome from Northwestern up there. I like him a lot. I mean, he's going to be a guy probably late first round, I'd say. So I like him just because he can play on the outside. He's kind of, more of a lockdown guy as well. He's more physical than his body type might make you think as well. So I like that out of him. He's not scared of contact at all. So you kind of like that mean streak in a cornerback. He doesn't have the mean streak that Sertan has, but I think it's there. I think he's a guy that can come in and play right away as well.
It's there in coverage. It's just not there when it comes to tackling. He's not a very good tackler. I mean, that's what scares me about Horn. I've watched him trail runners and not, and kind of like cut them off in the run lane, but not necessarily go for the tackle, and that kind of concerns me. Like I think I even said this in the report. He covers like Jari Alexander and tackles like Javon Hargraves, or not Javon Hargraves.
Vernon
Hargraves. And he really doesn't like to tackle. So that was what kind of bugs me. Tyler, who's your favorite prospect, and who's somebody you think can fly up the boards?
Yeah, like Ryan said, I really like J.C. Horn. I think the penalties are a little bit of a concern, but as long as he can clean that up, I think he'll be a stud. But I think it's Sertain for sure. I don't have to go over that again. But I think a guy I really like that's, I'm in my top 5 is Elijah Molden out of Washington. I love corners who are short and love to throw their body weight around in the run support. I mean, he comes in like a heat-seeking missile and loves to hit people as a corner, and I love seeing that in a corner. And he's really, really smart as far as recognizing plays and routes, and he does have that NFL bloodline his father played as well.
It's a really good class. I'm looking. I mean, you have from 6.88 all the way up to an 8.3. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of difference in these guys' game. We got Asante Samuel Jr. coming in at only a 7.08. But we all know at 5'10", 180, he's going to be kind of he's stuck in that slot role. So do you guys think that's going to hurt his stock? I mean, the nickel corner position, it should be as valued as any position there is, especially depending on what who you have in your division. Like if you have a solid slot corner, you draft to play your division. So if you have a solid slot wide receiver that you have to play twice a year, you want to be able to eliminate that option. Do you guys think that that's going to hurt him and his draft stock's going to fall, even though a lot of us do have him inside the top 5?
I think it will hurt him in the sense that he's not going to be drafted, which, I mean, maybe late first round, but in the sense that I feel like if teams are drafting a corner, that first round spot, I think it's going to be more of the outside kind of perimeter guy that can be used, I mean, I guess in the slot if they need to. But when you think about the top guys, they're usually the outside guys.
Yeah, and I did the report on Asante Samuel Jr. And, what I saw was he kind of was a liability in the run game, struggled to make tackles, which is a big deal. And, he's really, really good. I mean, I'll give it to him. His man coverage is really good. But when he went up against physical wide receivers, he really struggled, lost balance, holding, grabbing, penalties. So that's kind of where I gave him that grade.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that is no knock on you or the scouting. It's just when you are very one-dimensional, like you're never going to grade very high in our reports. So you can be the greatest power back of all time, but you're still only going to grade so high because the rest of your traits, like we can't fib the rest of the report to make it reflect. Like we have to be honest and true to our grading scale and our grading system, and that's why guys like that grade out low. That's why one-dimensional running backs grade out kind of low. One-dimensional offensive linemen, even if they are so amazing in one aspect, in just the pass blocking, if they're equally as good as they are in run block, if they're that bad in pass block, then they're going to grade out low. There's nothing we can do about that, and that's why our grades don't ever necessarily 100% reflect our big board, because we do understand that like you can take a trait and turn it into an ability, over time. It doesn't happen day one, but it will in the long haul. You can see that the future production is more valuable. You don't ever draft somebody for year one. You don't ever draft a quarterback for year one. You draft a quarterback for year 5, year 6, year 7. What that peak can be, and that's why Trey Lance is going number 3. But that's a whole different part. That's a whole different podcast, and we've already talked about that. Any other guys that stand out for you guys before we move on into the safety rankings? Moving on into the safety rankings, then let's go. All right, so there is a couple guys on this list. I can't even get behind the Caden Stearns being our highest graded player. But as it sits right now, we have Trevon Moehrig, Richie Grant 1-2. I think that is across the board. Most people agree with that one or believe that. I want to say in our latest updated rankings, we have Javon Holland 3, Tyree Gillespie 4, and then Stearns 5, maybe, or no, and then Paris Ford, I want to say. But as it sits right now, Moehrig, Grant, Stearns, Holland, and Sherwood round out our top 5. Again, guys, this will be updated, but that's why we're digging into them now. This was our pre-scouting grading or pre-scouting big board. So, what's your guys' takeaway from that list? Pat, I'll go back to you, and we'll go clockwise with this.
Yeah, I think Moehrig and Grant are pretty much going to stay the same on Thursday, and I know a lot of people have been talking about Ardarius Washington lately, and obviously height's a concern for him, but I think he's a pretty dang good player, so he may make his way up there. Yeah, I think Moehrig is going to be pretty much the clear cut. This isn't the deepest safety class by any means, and I think Caden Stearns might be a little bit high on a 8.02, but I would certainly think he's going to be a good day 2 player. And yeah, again, it's not the deepest safety class of all time, but I think you can still get some talent on day 2.
Yeah, I agree. The way I have it is Moehrig, Grant, Holland, Ford, and then Ardarius Washington coming in at 5 for me. Cisco, Johnson, and Funga come in after that. What about you, Ryan? Is any of these guys? Do you think any of these players can have that, Antoine Winfield Jr. like impact, in this next year?
I think the closest guy for me is Moehrig. I think he's probably the only safety in this class, unless Grant slips into late first. I think Moehrig might be the only safety in this class taken first round. I just he's all over the field. He can play the run. Got good ball skills. I just saw a playmaker when I watched his film. He's all over the place, always around the ball. I love that out of a safety. And then with Grant, great free safety, awesome ball skills. And then I like guys I like Holland. Because he can play multiple spots in the secondary. You like that in a safety, just as a guy you can rotate in, whether it be a strong or free or in the slot. Just depends on whatever scheme he's drafted into. He can be played in multiple positions there. And then you'll have some good day 2 to 3 guys like Johnson out of Indiana, and even Andre Cisco, even though he's kind of slipped down in the rankings and he shows some flaws in his film, he could be a guy, late day 2 to day 3 that could make an impact eventually, depending on where he's drafted. So there's some potential again in the safety class, but I'd say Moehrig above all of them to me. That stands out.
It's not even close. Richie Grant has just high upside though written all over him. I mean, dude can cover ground in a quickness, and you love to see that in a love to see range in a safety. But Tyler, what do you think about these safeties? Is there anybody that's going to make that big jump, that impact? Is there anybody that's going to surprise anyone this year?
I really think it is Andre Sisco. I love his film. I know there was a little bit of flaws, but I mean, you can't argue with 13 interceptions. The kid loves to hit, throws his body weight around. He's not really like that last line of defense type guy. He likes to get out of place a lot because he is so aggressive, which he needs to work on that. But I really think he's kind of a boom or bust guy, and if he booms, I think he could be a stud.
I think if you put him in like a Ravens type system that'll allow him to go to have some freedom and go fly and make plays and thump people, like they allow that's why Marcus Peters was the perfect player, because they give them the freedom to take those risks. And it doesn't cost them an entire game just because of the way they play defense. They have other guys to make up for it.
Yep.
They're willing to take risks. I think that would be like a perfect fit. He could fill that, what that was the Richard Jefferson, or not Richard, God damn it. Oh, man. It was a long day. All right, guys. It was like a 12-hour fucking travel day yesterday. Leave me alone. I apologize. But oh, that's terrible. God damn it. That's 3 on this podcast. I'm done. You guys can sign me out right now. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm excited. I really like Sisco. He's somebody that has got some you just love anybody in the secondary that can bring that lead and bring that hit power.
I love it. Absolutely.
You gotta love it. Especially when they have ball skills and that, man, it's sky's the limit. But there is, especially in man, like when he had to play man coverage, it didn't look too good. He's not the best, and his footwork isn't the best. But just give him space and let him do his thing, or load him up in the box and send him on a blitz and see what happens. But
it's the same thing with, I think, Paris Ford too. I mean, he tested awful in his pro day, but I mean, he's another guy that likes to come up and hit and has the ball skills, but was a bit of a liability in man coverage, same type of thing.
Yeah. And again, a lot of these safeties, they don't test as good, but it's play recognition and route recognition, can turn a 4.6 into a 4.4 real quick. So if you are 0.2 quicker on the ball, then you're going to be 0.2 faster. So who cares if you run a 4.5 or a 4.3? If you can. But obviously, if you're somebody in the back end of the defense, you better be pretty goddamn fast.
That was a problem. I think he ran like a 4.8 or a 4.9. Terrible.
Yeah, that's bad. And you typically can't make that work. They almost have to then take those. They have to take those guys and make them, that coverage linebacker type, that sub package role for them, like they did. Burns this year. Not Burns. God, never. Mover. I'm done. I can't do it today. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. No, I'm just kidding. But is there anybody that stands out for you guys just overall? Who's the favorite prospect? It doesn't have to be the top ranked prospect, but who is the favorite defensive prospect this year? Pat.
For me, it's just Caleb Farley. He has insane upside. I don't know if there was a single rep I watched that he lost a guy in man coverage. He is so freaking sticky, and I know back problems are very scary to a lot of teams, but he's been cleared by a lot of doctors, and it's supposed to be a minor procedure. Obviously, his pro day having to be canceled or not being able to participate in his pro day is going to be pretty worrying to a lot of teams, but I think that absolute crazy upside is just too much to pass on, and I think if he falls later and later into the first round, it's going to be a mistake.
Ryan?
Overall, for me, I love Micah Parsons, man. I think he's everything you want in NFL linebacker. He's physical. He fills the gaps, stops the run, and he's athletic. He can cover. He can run all over the field. I mean, if I need a linebacker, that's who I'm taking. Bottom line, he's a top 10 pick for me. I like him a lot in this draft.
What do you guys think that Zaven Collins gets drafted as? Is he going to be an edge? Is he going to be an outside linebacker? Is he going to be hybrid?
Hybrid,
yeah. Depends on who drafts him.
It's true, but I think you don't draft a hybrid without being able to make a hybrid work, because if you put square peg round hole, it just never works. Collins he's one of the most interesting players to me. But I've already talked about, all three of those D tackles I think are going to be people. I really do like Davion Nixon. It bugs me that he was graded so low for Blitz. I think he's got some Aaron Donald in him. He's a little undersized. I think he only comes in at like 6'2", like maybe 300 pounds, 310, 290, something like that. But his leverage tech is outstanding. I mean, he bodied some guys out there. So he really is somebody that I am like, now that I'm hearing a few people, drop him down the boards. Like I'm high on him. A couple other of us at Blitz, and then I think Matt Miller is also another person that's high on him as well. So I think he's one of those like boomer bust prospects that I would love to see somebody take a swing on, early and see what happens. But I'm not gonna lie, I would be a little bit nervous. So, all right, gentlemen, that wraps up our war room for the defensive positional rankings. More to come, big board rankings, pre-draft show. We are going to do a live, draft companion. It's kind of going to be like Rogan's Fight Companion. We're just going to come in, hang out, watch. We're not going to go over the top with the production. We're just going to sit in, hang out, and if we can help you guys get you guys some updates, some early ranking or some early picks in, we will let you all know. But stay tuned. And if any of you guys fans want to join in, hit us up in the comment section. We'll see if we can get you guys into the chat, hang out, have some fun with us. During the draft, at least during the first round, maybe second and third, we'll see how it goes. But again, expect some recaps, some previews, some draft recaps, and then tomorrow we'll be back right around the same time for our big war room, where we're going to get as many scouts as we possibly can in, and we're going to go hard on each other's grades and see if we can't collectively get on the same page as scouts. If our rankings need to reflect our grading scale, and so we have to dive in, we have to argue it out. And so that's what the real war room is. So stay tuned. Appreciate it. Tyler, let these people know where they can find you on Twitter.
You can find me at Tyler_Mooney12 on Twitter. You'll find me retweeting and liking all of our scouting reports and updates.
Lippert?
You find me at Lippert42 on Twitter and all social media. So give me a follow. I'll try to get out as much as possible. Draft content leading up the next few days, especially on draft day. Try to get some big boards and some positional rankings of my own out there right on draft day.
Likewise. Oh, there's another one. We have to get our mock draft, first round mock draft set up. So we'll do a little mock draft off for the company, and then make sure we get one submitted to mock draft database for all of Blitzalytics. So we'll see how that goes. So I'll get that up tonight. Pat, let these people know where they can find you and at you on Twitter for any, good or bad.
Yep. I'm at Prior NFL on Twitter, and on there you will find me screaming about the 49ers not drafting Mac Jones. That is about 90% of my Twitter nowadays.
It's going to be Trey Lance, man. I'm telling you. It's Trey Lance.
Trey
Lance, baby. I really do. It sucks because I kind of am back. I'm like still really, really tempted to put Trey Lance over Zach Wilson in these rankings because I really do think. I just know. I mean, Zach Wilson's going to be a bust because he's going to go to the Jets, but it's not his fault. So my ranking shouldn't reflect that, but I've been on the edge of putting Trey Lance up there. And I don't hate Justin Fields. I don't know why everybody keeps saying I hate Justin Fields. I don't. I like him. I like him at like 18, 19 overall. It's not bad because everybody's like right there. It's all super tight. But apparently I'm a bad person, so whatever. Just kidding. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank the three of you for carrying me because I am half awake right now, as you guys can see. Super jet lag still, but I'm here, dedicated. As always, thank you for tuning into the Blitz. Oh, I almost said the breakdown. That's how bad it is. Thank you for tuning into the War Room. We will see you all tomorrow. Blitz out.